once again, and this is the question of the war. When will the Russians stop? Where and how? We still don't know. And everybody that says he knows, he doesn't know what he's talking about. The only one who knows is Vladimir Putin. Maybe Zhemov maybe doesn't know. Medvedev doesn't know. The whole Supreme Council still doesn't know. The final decision is the big bear. And of course, the pressure will mount because then, okay, we cross the Dnieper. We keep going. Yes, we keep going. All the way to Odessa. Why not? Let's go all the way to Odessa. Especially now that after Odessa, Transnistria. So, all the doors will be open, right? But at the same time, the Russians are looking at how direct attacks inside the Russian Federation are bound to increase sooner rather than later. That's where these NATO surveillance planes over Crimea day after day for a few weeks now, that's where they fit in. They are going to come up with something in Crimea, and it's going to be a terror attack, most probably. How is Russia going to react to that? This gradualist approach is reaching the limits, right? What our friends in Moscow, businessmen, I've been hearing from them for 2.5 years now, this almost war cannot be an almost war anymore. This transition from SMO to counter-terrorist operations, CTO, it's not announced yet. It's forming. Trump doesn't know anything about foreign policy anywhere in the global south. He still doesn't know what BRICS is. Can I give you probably the best quote of these past few days? I'm going to quote Trump verbatim, starting now. When I heard about this group from BRICS, so it's a group from BRICS, it's not the BRICS group. 6 countries basically. So he doesn't even know how many are BRICS and BRICS partners. I hit them very hard. And if they ever really form in a meaningful way, so according to Trump, BRICS is not even formed. It will end very quickly, I'll tell you. They won't be gone very long. I don't think they'll even do it. Do it means, in his mind, the only thing that registers is this group of 6 or whatever, unformed, blah, 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 is de-dollarizing, and this is anti-American. This is the only thing that registers in Trump's mind. I don't think they'll even do it. They're virtually afraid to me. And he didn't even construct the phrase correctly. It would be, they're virtually afraid of me. He said, they're virtually afraid to me. So to him, personally, all of the BRICS are afraid. So this is how he sees. It's very telling because as much as it's horribly constructed, a 5-year-old will construct this train of thought better than Trump. But it's all there. It proves that he has absolutely no clue what BRICS is all about. But for the moment, the Kremlin judges that the price being paid by the Russian military, okay, I'm talking about military casualties, is acceptable. And to put it bluntly, the price being paid by the Russian civilian population is acceptable. But if this goes over a red line that none of us know where it is, it's probably in Putin's mind. There's got to be a figure, a number somewhere. Then all bets are off. We're not there yet. But just to give an example, imagine a false flag in Moscow with lots of civilian casualties in the capital. We are on the way to this ultra red line, right? If we have something like this, the people who ordered this false flag, they better start running now. But we're not there yet. So this calibration game is very complex for Putin and the Security Council. On the other side, we know now there are no rules. When you have the Chancellor of Germany openly calling to strike Russian Federation assets inside Russia, this is already a declaration of war by itself. And these stupid generals and the head of NATO, you name it. They are losing. They never had any measure. But this is what happens when you launch a military operation without thinking of possible outcomes. And after a little over 3 years, you stare humiliation in your face, but utter, thorough humiliation. The whole NATO machine humiliated by Russia. And that's why the BRICS table is going to become, it is becoming, each day that passes, the BRICS table becomes more important. Because now there is a consensus that they are under attack, and soon all of them will be under attack because of all these cosmic internal contradictions in India, their ruling classes, their inferiority complex, the fact that they haven't, what China did with the century of humiliations, they got over it. The Indians never got over the Raj. They never got over the fact that they were exploited, devastated, destroyed from the inside by the British Empire. It's very hard to admit that and to get over it and to work on it. You name it, the caste problem, you name it, prejudice against Muslims or harassment of Muslims. They have so many overlapping problems. And a system like these Hindutva fanatics is not the best system to start solving their problems. And on top of it, they pose as leaders of the global South. With all these internal contradictions, they can never be a true leader of the global South, period. China can, they cannot, India cannot. It's crazy because now we are imagining that a third player, an outside player like Russia, can diplomatically explain to the Indians that it's in their best interest to act like a global South sovereign power, like Russia, China, and Iran act. So we have a lot of little Trumpinos, mini Trumps in the swamp. Wow. And of course, the Zionist lobby, the number one of them all, of course, they convinced him to bomb Iran, literally, which could, depending on the Iranian answer, this could have been the beginning of World War III. It was not because the Iranians look at the big picture and I said, no, it's not now, it's later. And it may be later or it's later. And of course, this free reign that Trump 2.0 is giving to that death cult in West Asia to bomb anything they want, to take over parts of Syria, to try to destroy Lebanon for good, to rearm again to try another attack against Iran, which for them is going to be, if they try that, they're done if they try it. But they will try it again. It's in the logic of the beast. That death cult is like those serial killers in cheap American movies that never die. This is the logic of that death cult. The only logic is death and serial death. And even if you are mortally wounded, you continue with trying to the logic of serial death until some force from above finally kills you. But in the end, it never does now because they keep resurrecting. There's got to be a season 2 or season 3 or season 4. That's the logic of Hollywood, right? So these serial killers never die. That's cult in West Asia. It's the same logic. I will profit personally from it. I will build a lot of stuff in that thing called Gaza, and everybody wins. This is what he actually thinks. And he actually thinks that this thing could work. It's the only thing that he sees in terms of when he looks at West Asia, to turn it into a succession of Trump towers or Trump casinos or whatever. That's it. With him at the middle as the president of the whole conglomerate, sitting in the main corporate tower, managing everything, and everybody subordinated to his interests. The Europeans, the Indians, Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and Israel. That's the master plan. But it's very dangerous, very dangerous. And this Erdogan-Aliyev alliance with Israel as well. After all, we do have a triangle. Ankara, Baku, Tel Aviv, it's a working triangle over there. Extremely dangerous. And this is the number one explanation why Israel continues to get oil from the BTC oil pipeline. There's no other explanation because the triangle they are conforming the triangle. Okay, where we go next? What are our next moves? Their interests theoretically align. Erdogan and Tel Aviv, they have more interests aligned themselves than separating them. All this, I would say, fog of war with the Druze in Syria, it's fog of war. This could have been, in fact, directly organized between Israel intelligence and Turkish intelligence. But it's still a bit far compared to China. That's the difference. But at the same time, when you are in Iran, you feel that you are in a sovereign power. And the way Iran deals with all these challenges and so much pressure from all across the West, and they resist. It is extremely impressive. And they have found the perfect president of the United States to, okay, go ahead, do anything you want. So, another open question: will he one day wake up and have, I would say, 30 seconds of introspection, which in his case is already like a trip to the Milky Way? Wow, this lobby is burying my presidency, which is already doing it now. But can you imagine in a few months from now or before the midterms, end of next year in the US, when he'll look at the numbers and he'll see that his presidency is being buried? Is he going to change a track in how he deals and how he's manipulated by this lobby? Probably not. Things will continue to do the same. He will continue to do the same things. Because in his mind, he'll be thinking about what? His mind only thinks in terms of striking a deal. It's a mafioso kind of mafia. Oh, very nice thing you have here. Pity if something happens to it. Can I? Okay, let me propose a way for you to deal with it, and nothing will happen to what you have. This is the way the mafia thinks. And this is the way he thinks because he learned to think like this from the New Jersey, New York mafia. We're going to build this fantastic trade corridor with Israel in the middle, serviced by Saudi Arabia and Emirates on both sides. This is going to be between Europe on one end and India on the other end. Israel will be in the middle. But at the same time, we have this pressure from the discombobulated American system around Trump. I wouldn't say that Trump himself has already realized that, because he's not an analytical character. He's not a strategist. He's not an analytical character. He doesn't read. He doesn't listen to anybody. He only listens to 3-word mantras and all that. But he knows that the 50-day deadline is a non-starter with Russia. Russia never makes decisions under pressure, never, especially Putin. And the fact that within the next few weeks, the Russian advance will continue and even increase in pace, that the Russians are looking at the big picture in terms of not only Ukraine, but the opening up of new fronts against Russia. And that starts with Azerbaijan, where that ghastly Aliyev is playing a really hardcore double game, and everybody in positions of power in Moscow, they know that. MI6 indoctrinating more and more people all across Central Asia. That new Iron Curtain in the Baltic, the three Chihuahuas, Poland and Finland, trying to, in their own dreams, transform the Baltic into a NATO sea and isolate Russia, especially St. Petersburg, which obviously will be a no-go. But for the moment, they still think this could happen. And of course, the Black Sea, where now we have surveillance NATO planes flying all across and all over Crimea on a daily basis. It's the self-confidence of becoming an economic superpower and a technological superpower. My last trip to Shanghai, I was like, wow, you are hit in the face everywhere you look and everybody you talk to. I plan to go back. I'll be back this second semester. I'll be between Russia and China, more or less. And I want to get deeper. Absolutely. I want to go back to Xinjiang and look at Xinjiang from a technological point of view. Nobody in the West has a clue about it. So it's no wonder. It's no wonder. And talking to first-class Chinese academics, like we had the chance to do it during the summit in Rio, it's visible. The quality of the analysis is excellent, of course. And this sense of self-confidence. And yes, finally, China, we are not dictating, but we are not imposing, not dictating, but we are tracking our development and global international insertion the way we want, with no interference whatsoever. This is the sign of a sovereign power. a real sovereign power. Iran can do the same thing, but Iran, the constraints over Iran are much hardcore now. And Iran is surrounded by the enemy. It's a different story. And Iran is not an economic superpower. It has, I would say, the potential. It's all there. When I was traveling the north-south economic corridor, you can feel it. From the Caspian to the Persian Gulf, you can see, wow, you can see the potential of the country. So they are up to something in Crimea. There's no question about that. And if that happens this summer, then we'll be approaching the Oreshnik moment, right? So Nima, it's getting hotter by the day. So in China, Trump was forced to back down. He knew from the beginning that this was a no-go, considering the response by the Chinese already in, when was it? April. I was there. When I was in Shanghai in April, for instance, I could follow the Chinese response live from Shanghai. And we could tell, and talking to our Chinese friends, we could tell that now China is not the China of 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now they are self-confident enough to tell the Americans, oh yeah, bring it on. We're waiting for you. We don't care. Bring everything you have. Throw everything you have against us. And what happened the past few days? The authorization by the Trump system to NVIDIA to sell H20 chips to China. What does that mean, essentially? Means that NVIDIA has zillions of chips that they need to sell by all means necessary, and the only market that can absorb these chips is China. Does China need these chips? No, they don't. Why? Because Huawei is already at the next level. The Huawei chips and graphics, plaques and whatever that are coming out, will be coming out in the next few weeks and months. That's where the Chinese market is going. In fact, this is going to be much, much worse because it involves nuclear weapons and it involves superimposed wars that the Americans are already unleashing everywhere using their vassal NATO. And these wars are essentially against BRICS. So it's geoeconomic, geopolitical, and military. And that's why it's so dangerous. So if you have local elites, there are mostly Atlanticists, fifth columnists. They really don't care about their nation and they care about their own personal profit, preferably abroad. They don't care about the local population. They only care about being accepted as lowly members of the ruling classes in the global north, the members of the BRICS members and the BRICS partners as well. We don't know how India is going to manage all that. It's too early to tell. But even the fact that India was there and Modi was in ecstasies, the way he was received in Brazil by Lula, etc., and he's proposing a strategic partnership and all that. So obviously, the Americans timed that too as a message to India as well. Oh yeah, you're dreaming of a strategic relationship with Brazil. You're going to be hit hard, just like we're hitting them hard. Trump's own words. This ends up filtering back to levers of power in the Kremlin as well. And in India, the same thing, especially the fact that India now is, in a sense, getting closer to some of the BRICS. In fact, it was not her. The guy who came up with that was Kurt Campbell. He was the number 2 at the State Department at the time. He conceptualized pivoting to Asia. And then Hillary, she said, it's my idea. It was not. She stole it. And then she published a huge piece on foreign affairs talking about pivoting to Asia. That was 2010. Absolutely. So even before 2010, the American ruling classes, the people who run the show, they're already thinking, yes, we have to concentrate over there, all across Asia. They were thinking about China, but laterally, underneath, they were also thinking about Russia. Even before Maidan, don't forget, the whole Maidan scam was an Obama administration scam, including the then vice president and Joe Biden. So yes, I'm glad that you mentioned 2010. I remember very well. I was up and down around Asia at the time when I was with Asia Times, of course. And obviously, coming back to the US, we're always okay. What do the Americans want to do with Asia? India is already very close to Russia and wants to get closer with Brazil. So we still remain with the number one issue to be solved, possibly in the next few months, which is India, China. And the only ones who can solidify finally the relationship are the Russians. And it's in their interest and it's in BRICS' interest to solidify that. So let's see how it works. And for instance, many Chinese academics, I was listening to them say directly, which is something the Chinese always go through metaphors, images, historical analogies. In this case, they were saying the trust between China and India is lost. That's very serious. So how do you recover this trust? The only ones who can make it happen or accelerate this happening are the Russians. So let's see. The Russians will have a crucial role in this next less than a year and a half. The summit in BRICS summit in India will be probably end of next year in India, to put them on the same table and say, look, we are all being attacked now by the same player. So are we going to get together for good or what? Are you in or out? So the decision is with people backing Modi, not necessarily Modi himself, but the people backing him. Nobody knows for the moment. For the moment, it's only speculation. Don't underestimate the formation and the consolidation of this triangle. Extremely dangerous in every aspect. And what the Brazilians have already started, at least, they are receiving inquiries from especially Africa and Asia, new potential customers to these products that Brazil exports. So should we expect the Indian ruling classes to be learning from Russia, China, and Iran, especially these past 3 months? That's an open question. Let's leave it at that for the moment. It's an open question. But for instance, it struck me a lot because I heard from different Chinese academics talking about BRICS. They were saying maybe we should start considering the other eyes on BRICS. And they were talking openly about BRICS. And guess what? Iran and Indonesia, not India. And don't forget, Iran and Indonesia are full members of BRICS. They're not partners. They are on the same status as India. And the Chinese are looking at Iran and Indonesia. Yes, these are sovereign nations. We can do a lot of business with them. We are on the same wavelengths. They are on the table. They are our equals. So India, if they don't start acting in their own Indian interests, they will lose power in the BRICS table. They will be excluding themselves out. So once again, this is an open question. Are they aware of it in India?